Hey, Kings and Dragons, Dragon King 551, and we are back with another college football slash basketball video here. This one is very different. This is about the strength of a schedule or someone's resume. And let's talk about certain teams first. So, first off, I'm going to share with you guys on Google about last year's basketball scenarios that went very differently and why basketball of March Madness or college football, there's some bias, but then there's also strength of schedule concepts, which really irks a lot of fans. And I'm going to trigger March Madness fans from last year. So we're all my basketball fans. I apologize if any of you are a fan of this team. And I'm going to compare it to this team because let's just go through this. So that being said, I did not watch this team whatsoever. So I can't see their games, but I can check their record. And this is what their record is. So let me show you this, guys. And this is what I'm talking about. So as you can see, I am in the SEC right now. And this is Texas A&M at 27-13. Now, if I do Google them from last year, this is what you see. NIT, not in tournament. They did not make the March Madness tournament. And as you can see here, they are 27-13. Now, if I go over to, where is it? Oh, I passed it. Big Ten here. This is the teams that are in the Big Ten. Now, I forget how many made it in. I think it was like 1, 2, 3, 4. Remember, I am gonna in my dominance video, I did talk about how Wisconsin, how there were always 9 or 10 teams that got in. I think it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then maybe 9. Yeah, this was the 9th team right here. This is what I'm talking about. Michigan is 19-15. But the reason that they get in is because now, obviously, this is their new schedule from this year. Last year, and look, again, they're going to be playing 2 top teams. They're playing number 4 Kentucky, if number 4 Kentucky can stay there, number 18 Virginia, number 1 UNC, and then a couple of other guys for their resume and stuff. So why do I bring that up versus Texas A&M is because it's simple. Everyone has a problem with resume, and this is where the bias comes in. There's SEC bias, and no one likes to kick an SEC team out if they play weak teams. Yet Michigan's resume plays 3 weak teams, and they're like, oh, yeah, we can't. They do not like Michigan, but they like Ohio State, even though Ohio State, the way that they're playing for football right now is one-dimensional, and they struggled against a team that is playing in the win. And I say, if you don't have a good run game and you're one-dimensional, it doesn't work so well. Look at Michigan in the COVID year. They were one-dimensional. They tried throwing the ball so much. 2-4, they lost so many games, right? Ohio State does the same thing. They're not losing, they're winning, but in a close game. Now, take Clemson, for example. Good resume. Good resume. I'm not going to disagree that they don't have a bad resume. They played 3 top teams, Syracuse, NC State, and Wake Forest. But the problem is that they don't care what the score is. They care if it's a top 15 opponent. Personally, for me, I care what the score is and stuff. Because if Clemson is such a good team, as a top 5 team or a top 10 team, they would not be playing close games against those teams and stuff. And then when they played Notre Dame, they had that mindset, as I explained earlier in my other videos. You cannot go into a game thinking that mindset expect to win. And that's what happened with Michigan in the first quarter against Rutgers. But we've always been a second half team, all right? It is what it is. So with that basketball March Madness stuff, everyone's asking, why did Michigan get in and didn't have to play in the play-in tournament? And then also, why are they in and Texas A&M isn't? Well, first off, even though Texas A&M had a better record than Michigan, Michigan played tougher teams. I think they played Seton Hall. Arizona was one of their teams. Oh, God, I can't remember any of the I know those were 2 top opponents, and then there were a couple other ones that I can't remember off the top of my head. But they played really strong opponents, and they still were able to get into March Madness and pour it on in March Madness to get to the Sweet 16 and then get knocked out. But at the same time, you got to admit, Michigan is a pretty solid basketball team, and where they are right now in football as the number 3 best team in the country. But my point is that resume is the problem here because that's what matters more than your record and stuff. Like you could go 12-0. I've seen teams where they go 12-0 or go undefeated. Take TCU right now. They could go undefeated. they're in the playoff right now, but they could go undefeated, and another team could come along that's better and stuff and wins their big conference or whatever, and they get in even with one loss and stuff, and that would suck. As of right now, there is only one SEC team, which is Georgia. There's 2 Big Ten teams in there, and then there's TCU. So if Michigan beats Ohio State, they're in. If Ohio State beats Michigan, they're in. Which honestly, I think Michigan might beat Ohio State, but that's neither here or now. That's in the near future in 3 weeks or so. But the point is that the resume aspect is what screws a lot of these teams over, because it's like, Jawan's no dummy. He knows that if you have a stronger schedule, you're going to get into March Madness because people care about the teams you played. They don't care if you won or lost necessarily, which obviously the win does matter. But at the same time, it's because, oh, yeah, I played a tougher opponent, so let me get into March Madness and stuff. And that is where the concern is for these this college football playoff atmosphere is in 2024 when we get the 12-team expansion. How's this going to affect? Does the resume matter as much, or does it not? Because if it doesn't, then can 4 Big Ten teams get in, or can more teams from one conference and get in or something? But that's for a video for another time about the college football playoff. The point is that the resume aspect of this is very, very frustrating, because you will see teams who have good records who could go 30 and no, I'm sorry, let's do 28-18 because, or something like that. Or 30-8. Sorry, I don't know why I said that. Yeah, go 30-8, have 8 losses, because I think the most games you play is between 35 to 38. Then go into your conference, your conference playoffs, which are the Big Ten. Let's just use the Big Ten conference championship playoffs and stuff. I think there's 4 rounds in that. I think it's 1 round, quarterfinal, semifinal, and then the championship. So if you go 38-0, win those, and this is what I'm talking about, guys. This is what you can do. You win those 4 games in the Big Ten or whatever. That's 42, and then depending, I think it's 6. You could play 7, but I mean, you could go 48 or 49-0, depending if you play in a play-in tournament or not. But that doesn't really matter, because I think if you go undefeated, you're not going to play in the play-in tournament because you're such a good team. Ultimately, they have to put you in if you're so good. But at the same time, the resume aspect is what screws a lot of teams over. This strength of schedule or resume in college sports is what screws teams over not to get into the playoffs or into the big dance, as we call it in college basketball, or into the national championship playoffs. So I don't know. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. A lot of people are like, oh, yeah, Clemson's good. Yeah, but if you're so good, and this is where I want to draw the line with Clemson. If you guys are so good, why are you not blowing these top 15 teams out by a bigger margin? When Michigan plays top 10 Penn State, at the time they play the game, I don't care about where Penn State is right now. I care at the time when they played the game. So when Michigan played that game, Penn State only allowed 398 rushing yards in their first 5 games with 3 rushing touchdowns. In that game, 2 running backs on Michigan killed them and ran for 418 yards in total and 4 touchdowns. 2 different guys scored 2 touchdowns that day on that game, which means Michigan blew out a top 10 opponent, where Clemson only struggled against top 15 opponents, which means they're not as good as Michigan is on their resume aspect, because even though they played top 15 opponents, they didn't win. They didn't win by a big margin. That's what is important to me as well. It's like, you don't look that great. And then Ohio State, and I don't want to be biased to the Michigan Wolverines, is like, you guys are one-dimensional, but your strength of schedule is there, but then it's also your resume, and it's like, okay, yeah, we're one-dimensional. We can only throw the ball. We can't run the ball. Oh, we struggle against Northwestern in a windy environment, but we beat Penn State. We beat this team, whatever. Alabama struggled. They lost, LSU. I don't know. I mean, it is what it is. But yeah, strength of schedule really pisses me off. So until next time, guys, don't forget to stay radical. I'll see you in the next one. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments and stuff. Do you think this is annoying with strength of schedule? How certain teams like Texas A&M in basketball last year didn't make it into March Madness, but somehow my Michigan Wolverines did. And I apologize for anyone that got knocked off by them last year and stuff, but it was just ridiculous. And I don't understand it. Look, I'm not disagreeing with anyone that says Michigan doesn't deserve it and stuff. Maybe they didn't deserve to get in, but I don't know what the committee thinks anymore. I don't understand the committee. I don't understand the AP voting, with the coaches voting and determining who gets the 3 and the 2 with the point differential crap and stuff. But it is what it is. So until next time, guys, don't forget to stay radical. I'll see you in the next one, and leave your comments and thoughts down below.